What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another day at the WBR Garage, day 19 on our CBR flat tracker build. Today, we're going to finish this bike up. Total, complete, done, ready to ride, super excited. I hope you're excited too. Let's get to work. Here in our CBR flat tracker build, we also have a CBR Super Street or Super Sport bike build that we have going on as well. In the middle of being reassembled. If you guys like this content and you want a chance to possibly win one of these two machines, don't forget WBRgarage.com is where it happens. Subscribe, one of these two could be yours. Okay, so this right foot peg had been previously removed. The reason why we removed it, if you can see right here, we added one more hanger for our exhaust pipe. Now, it is designed to be hung off of the rear passenger foot peg, but we cut ours off because there's not going to be a passenger on this bike and we didn't see the need for one. And when you just hang the pipe from what used to be a foot peg and there's no foot peg on there anymore, it looks kind of not good. So we went ahead and had our machinist Judd drill and tap the back of the pivot for the brake pedal. And we put this nice stainless clamp on here to give our muffler a little bit more support. So I just want to retorque all the hardware that's here. I have some wires to connect, the reservoir to bolt back on, and the brake line to reinstall. So I'm going to finish up this right foot peg before we move on to anything else. And we'll get started with that. Okay, so foot peg is back on, reservoir, brake light switch, brake line with fresh crush washers, all that stuff is now installed. We're going to move on to installing the mounts for our, these are just the release pins for our seat. Pretty cool. Quick release pin for the seat. So we don't lose our pins, we're actually going to attach them to the bottom of our motorcycle here. So we're going to do that next. Okay, so we have the pins and cables attached. They're not going to fall off anytime soon. The next thing we have to do, if you want to come take a look, we're just slightly overfilled with oil. There's just a little tiny bubble at the top. We want to be right at this line. So while the bike is still up here on the lift and it's really easy to get to, I'm going to pull the drain, loosen the drain plug, and pull it out just enough to weep some oil out of it until we get to the proper line. Okay, so you see we've drained some of the oil out of the engine. There's really maybe 2 ounces, maybe a little bit less in here, and that was enough to overfill this thing. Small engine, small oil capacity. You don't want to overfill it. It'll wind up kicking it back out of the breather and soaking your air filter, and then air won't get through your filter, and your bike is running lean and all kinds of other bad stuff. So make sure you set your oil level to where it needs to be. I'll get rid of this for now. So now that we've finished up everything on the bottom half of the bike, it's time to move to the upper half of the bike. First thing we're going to do is we're actually going to prep the gas tank. We have to reinstall the fuel filter, some grommets into the tank for the hardware. So before we actually do that stuff, I'd really like to go over this tank with you because no, it doesn't seem like a lot has been done, but I have some things to show you. Okay, so this is our stock CBR300R tank. It's been slightly, moderately, heavily modified. On the cusp of heavily modified. We'll say it's been moderately modified. And what I'm going to show you now is those modifications, which probably don't seem too outstanding at the moment. But if you guys know your CBR300 tank, there are little tabs that come off the bottom of the tank in multiple positions that your bodywork actually clips onto, which have now been trimmed off very, very nicely prior to being painted. You could still see this bubble here in the tank, and that's totally fine. There was a Velcro pad right here that held the cover that went over the front of the tank. So there were also two little metal brackets that stood up here and held little rubber grommets for that cover that Velcros on the sides to kind of push fit into. So there was this big plastic cover on the front of the tank. And that's how the tank was designed. So you can snap that cover on to give the tank a more finished shape for the overall bike. But because we're not putting any of that stuff back on, it looked really goofy with all that stuff hanging off of it. These little brackets that were here with the rubber grommets on them were actually spot welded to the fuel tank. So I don't know how he did it. I don't want to know how he did it, but I'm super happy that I didn't have to do it. But I think our painter did a fantastic job cutting and trimming those parts off in the front, on the sides and bottom of our tank, and putting a really fantastic high gloss black paint job on this thing. So what we need to do to this before installing it back onto the motorcycle, we need to reinstall our fuel pump. I might have to look at the manual to figure out the orientation of how the pump goes on, but I'm going to try and put the pump in first. Sometimes there's a little key that kind of shows you where everything lines up, but obviously we got to take the hardware off first. So we lowered the lift down because I'm short people, and getting to the stuff that we need to get to next is way up here on the top of the motorcycle. We have our tank prepped to go on. I'm waiting for my buddy Bo over here to come over and give me a set of hands. We need to attach the fuel line as well as the electrical plug for the fuel pump and the fuel level sending unit. Once those two things are hooked up, I also have a vent line that is attached. I'm going to drop my vent line in to make sure that my overflow tube is routed. After the tank goes on, the seat goes on, and we're pretty much done. We still have brakes to bleed. Damn, I keep forgetting about that. Let's get this tank on first and continue on. I'm going to take my watch off so I don't scratch anything. Those little rubbery, nipply things feel good, don't they?
I'll massage my palm.
That was dirty too, wasn't it?
No,
I'm just gonna switch cameras now for you guys.
nipply things feel good on my palms.
The rubbery, nipply things. Okay, fuel tank is mounted. We inserted our rubber bushings on both rear mounts as well as the front. Spacer up front with the hardware at the rear. The next part to go on is our seat and rear fender. Now, don't remember if you guys remember earlier, if you haven't seen one of the earlier videos for this machine, we had our machinist make us a seat bracket that uses a mount from the back of the tank as well as the frame to hold the weight of our rider, the seat that we had originally. It's going down. Stream, I know you guys didn't see because you were over there. You may have caught a little tiny clip of it in the corner, but these LED light bars on the tripod and all that shit just took a dive for the floor and almost landed on the back of Chase's head, so that was kind of interesting.
Everybody's alive. Everything's okay.
Unfortunately, Chase handed me the camera to go pick everything up, and I thought it was recording, and I was pointing at him, and it wasn't.
I might have, like, in the terrifying.
I'm like, you might hit the button.
I'm like, okay, we're done for a second.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll get back to what we were doing here. Okay, so we do have our gas tank installed, rubber grommets, hardware, spacers, everything is ready to go. Brand new fuel line hooked up underneath the wiring harness for the fuel pump and the fuel sending unit to let the bike know when to turn on the I'm out of gas light. The next thing that we need to put on is our seat. And I think I was maybe mentioning a second ago, our seat is going to use this mount right here on the back of the gas tank, as well as here on the frame. We had our machinist Judd build this bracket for us, so he can kind of build in the proper angle, so you don't feel like your seat's not dipping down in the back, or you're not totally falling into the front of the seat. So he's got cool little spacers I'm going to show you in a moment that fit over this piece here, and then we have these quick release pins, and all of our seat will actually be removable with 0 tools. So I was telling you about this wonderful seat that we have, and I'd really like to show you. This is the assembly. It is our seat, rear fender, as well as bracket, all mounted together one piece. It slides onto the bike, and one piece goes on with those quick pin fasteners. And we're going to show you how that works.
It is a thing to note that we've shown the whole process of this seat. We'll have episodes for how this seat got done.
Absolutely. There's stuff, if you guys haven't seen it, some previous episodes, we went through the building of our seat pan, and then the assembly of everything, and now that it's back from the painter, it looks glorious.
Now, it did get painted, so I'm sure people are going to wonder the same thing Judd was wondering earlier about paint and shipping.
Right. So our painter used a bumper style of paint. It is a paint that has a flex agent in it, so as this piece of bodywork flexes and flaps around from either your weight on it or the wind acting on it, or maybe you bump it with your foot, the paint's just not going to chip and flake off instantly. It's on there really good, bonded to the plastic, and has some flexibility in it. So here we go. We have this little tab here in the front that is going to slide right over the front of our gas tank spacer here. It's still also close, but not there. May have to trim that just a hair. Let's try one more time first. Maybe it just needs to be worked on a bit. It is close, hang on. There. So this is just an alignment tool. A small pry bar with a point at the other end. Obviously, I've used the hell out of it.
So just stuck it in there.
Just stuck it in and gave it a little bit of a pry. It slid that bushing up onto the front just a little bit tighter, and it was able to line those pins up in the back. This is the first time we've actually seen the whole thing together. So we've seen it together with the tank before it was painted, before it was modified. I don't think we've had the tank and the seat and the fender and everything on. Maybe when we were building the bracket, we may have thrown it on before paint, but it was so long ago. Now for the glory, just some light. All right, so our super special headlight switch. Yeah. All right, I got to step back and look at this thing.
Yeah, you need to come over here for real.
Wow. Man, does that look good? The seat angle is perfect. The bar height is perfect. That thing's going to be so much fun to ride. I don't even know if it's going to be fun to ride, but you're going to feel cool as hell riding it.
Which is all that really matters.
I love that the headlights have that blue haze because the housing is translucent, The blinkers on the forks just underneath, perfect. And then the simplicity of the tail, it just kind of hangs out here right where it needs to be. No excess. Yeah, now it looks, it's always hard to tell what the fender looks like when you don't have the rest of the bodywork on. You ever take apart a super sport bike, take all the bodywork off and leave the fender on? Good God. It's pretty crazy. So the last thing to our puzzle here is to give this thing brakes. The brake systems are on, no fluid. So we're going to fill and bleed front and rear brake systems. There is one thing we need to take specific attention to. Our front brake perch / master cylinder has been powder coated. So this whole unit went in the oven. Now this, they call it a sight glass, but it's actually a piece of plastic. So the sight glass here has been inside the powder coat oven. So we need to keep a real good eye on this to make sure that it still has its integrity and it's not going to weep any brake fluid. We don't want brake fluid on any of our finished stuff. So as we're filling the brake systems and bleeding everything, we just want to double check, keep an eye on the banjo bolts where the bolt goes through the brake lines. Make sure we don't have any leakage there. The bleeders, the little nipples, make sure we don't have any leakage of brake fluid there. And we'll get this thing filled up and pumped up, and this thing will be ready to go.
Woo!
Okay, you ready? Are we good? We're done.
What?
We're done. It's done. It's finished. Actually, we need a little bit of gas to make it run. But besides that, it's done. It runs. All the lights work. All the brakes work.
Brian, should I skid marker it?
That's up to you, homie.
Oh, I'm skid markering this thing for sure.
That means we need to get it off the lift then.
Yep.
So why don't we do that?
It does. Bo, we're going to need your help. Because one of us has got a skid marker and one of us has got to laugh at the other skid marker. It's a real life thing! Oh, how satisfying was that? Kickstand down.
Make sure there's no gas running out of the bottom of this thing.
Brian, this being your project this whole time, do you want to take it for the first little...
No.
Oh, f*** you. Alright, first crank. Since it's on the ground.
I don't think we unplugged anything else. I mean, it shows neutral on the dash, but when I push the button...
Oh, that's gonna be funny.
The check engine... Let me try and flip up the kickstand and see if that does it. Alright, so this is the original battery for this bike, and I don't think we've charged it in quite some time. It is a little weak. I'm just going to put a jumper battery on this thing so we can get it started real quick. And then we should be good to go. Can you hold this up while I put the seat on? Because I think if I put the kickstand down, it's going to stall. Dude, that thing looks so cool. Rear brakes work?
Huh?
Rear brake?
Yeah.
Okay. So the chain's a little loose now. We'll need to snug up the chain.
Your first fucking killer maiden.
I love that thing, man. I would so ride this thing everywhere. We need to put some sort of heat shield on that.
Yeah.
On the exhaust.
Yeah, even if we have to buy some like cheap little aftermarket bolt-on.
Like right here.
Yeah, because I already burned my calf.
So your first thoughts.
Can I have it?
Well, you can't.
Can I have? Can I?
Yeah.
You know, it feels very different than your standard 300. It sits up taller, so it feels like it lays into the turns like real easy.
Well, we knew that was going to happen.
It does.
The tire size.
Yeah, yeah, we knew it was gonna roll. I mean, this thing is gonna have such a real nice ride on the road because the wheels are so big. It's just gonna roll over all the cracks and imperfections and all that stuff. It's gonna roll right over all that stuff. It's gonna be super nice. There is a little flat spot in the acceleration. It does need to be tuned. We didn't do that yet. We may have to take a little look and see if there's actually supposed to be something on the swing arm. If we have to go back and take some apart to put that on, we'll have to do that because it's going to chew that swing arm up so quick. So we'll have to take a look to see if there's supposed to be some sort of rubber that goes over that, or if there's something that we can peel and stick on, something like that. Then we have to like drill holes to attach. I don't know. We'll take a look at it. We'll see what's the best option there. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, CBR Flat Tracker. She's complete. She runs. She rides. The brake works. It accelerates. It shifts gears.
Oh, Brian, we know it fucking accelerates.
Did you guys enjoy that? I know I did.
Can't hear anything
Bro.
after you did the flybys.
All that the stream saw was him going like this.
That's all I thought.
Oh, because it was looking out the door. Super cool bike. I knew it was going to be this cool in my head. It matches what I thought it was going to be. I'm super stoked over this motorcycle, and I'm super stoked for whoever wins this thing. You're going to love it.
Where can they win it, Brian?
WBRgarage.com. Become a member. This could be yours.
Yeah. All right, so next episode, what are we doing?
So we have a couple little itty bitty teeny weeny things to iron out. One, we forgot to put hardware in our gauge cluster, so it started to vibrate up. 2 little screws goes on the back of that. And for some reason, I'm having an issue with my neutral light, so I have to check the wire for that. So, you know, because it doesn't want to start, or it doesn't want to run with the kickstand down, which means it's not getting a neutral signal. So we'll figure that one out.
Cool.
And that'll be it.
We'll also do the shakedown run next episode as well.
We do also have to plug in the PowerVision 3 and flash the ECU. So on our next episode, we're going to, I don't know if we're going to show you this or not, but we'll have the gauge cluster squared away with some hardware. We'll get that wire finished up. We'll get the ECU flashed with our PowerVision 3, and then we're going to go on our first ride.
Whoa, exciting.
Well, I guess it would kind of be second ride now.
Shakedown
ride. Okay.
Shakedown ride is the next first ride.
We'll call it the shakedown. Sounds good. We'll see you guys on the next episode.